Hello! Today we'll read a simple dialogue and through that learn the three main rules of Russian pronunciation. For now, just repeat after me. Привет! Как дела? Хорошо. А у тебя? И у меня нормально. Пока. Увидимся. Great job! You just read the whole dialogue in Russian. Now let's look at it once again. I bet you've noticed that you read some words slightly differently from the way they are written. For instance, you spell хорошо and you read it as хорошо. And this is the first rule that you gotta remember. And they aren't many, for better or for worse. You read O as O when it's stressed. And you read O as A when it's not stressed. There is no specific rule for where to put stress in Russian. It can be in the beginning of a word, in the middle, or on the last syllable. I'll get into more details on that later. I usually mark stressed vowels as capital letters. And I'm doing it just for educational purposes. If you open a random text or book in Russian, you won't see that. But you shouldn't worry about that, as you will learn the right pronunciation for words naturally in context. Here, in this word, the stress goes on the last syllable. That's why you read it as хорошо. And you will do it the same way with other words. How would you read these? Молоко. Пока. That's a tough one. Нормально. Нормально. If a word has only one syllable and it has O in it, it'll be automatically stressed, unless it's a preposition, as prepositions in Russian aren't stressed usually. Try to read these. Вот. Кот. Сок. Awesome! Let's move on to the second rule, and it's much easier to remember. In Russian, the vowel yo is always stressed. So, if you see a word with yo in it, you know this is where the stress goes. At the same time, in many Russian texts and books, yo isn't marked with two dots on top and looks just like yeah. But it's implied that you know that it's yo and you're supposed to read it as yo. For example, the word полет can also look like this. But you're still supposed to read it as полет. But again, don't worry about this too much, as you'll get used to it through reading Russian words in context. And by the way, if you're ever not sure about how to pronounce a word in any language, you can always refer to Google Translate to check its pronunciation. Now try to read these words. Ёлка. Ребра. Почет. And finally, the third rule. If you remember it, you'll make your Russian learning incredibly easier. Very often, when the vowels ye and ya are not stressed, you'll pronounce them as I. especially right before the stressed syllable. You can see the examples in the dialogue. Как дела? У тебя? У меня? And now let's read the dialogue once again. Repeat after me. Привет. Как дела? Хорошо. А у тебя? И у меня? Нормально. Пока. Увидимся. How about now you'll read the dialogue one more time on your own. Great job! Let's sum it up. When O is stressed, you read it as O. And when it's not, you read it as A, like in the word хорошо. Yo is always stressed. And very often, when vowels ye and ya are not stressed, you'll read them as E. That's it for today. Увидимся! Пока!